I don't know, dude. Just go.
Now I can hear you.
What's up, everybody? It's Matt Johnson. We are back with another episode of Real Estate Uncensored. Whimpering out of the gate a little bit here today, thanks to Facebook Live not letting us know when we're actually broadcasting. Thank you, Mark Zuckerberg, for that. But guys, we are back. This is another brand new episode. We have an amazing guest. This is the place where you get actionable ideas, insight, and inspiration to turn your real estate career into a life of freedom. And speaking of a life of freedom and the ability to build the kind of business that you want, we are talking about the whole mega team trend today, as well as why you should be going super, super deep on just a few aspects of your business, and especially in your lead generation and how you get clients. And we'll talk about that more as we go along, because we've got a great guest here today that trains some of the top teams across North America, and she's been a previous guest of the show before, Kathleen Black. So guys, we're in for a special treat today. We weren't able to get the greatest internet connection with her the last time, but we are firing on all cylinders today. So first of all, let's bring in Greg, who barely knows what day, month, or year or whatever he's living in, but he is here as always, and we're here to bring you value.
Ah, shit, I forgot to bring Gene in on this. Son of a bitch. Okay. So today has been a very interesting day, guys. We had gale force, we had hurricane force winds here in Northern California. And Kathleen was beating me down verbally earlier, saying when I was complaining about wind, she's like, yeah, we woke up with all snow covering everywhere, and I immediately felt like a pussy. But I literally did lose power until about 20 minutes ago. I am so thankful that I am back on. So excuse me for being a little erratic today. But that's just how I roll. Now I'm going to try to bring Gene in here. Can I bring Gene in, Matt? Can I do that?
Yeah, I think so. You can still send him the link, but
I'll figure it. How about you just talk and I'll do shit?
Yeah, well, let's bring in Kathleen. Kathleen, can you just share for people that didn't catch your last episode, kind of give us the 60-second bio on who you are, where you are, and what you do, so people understand where you're coming from.
Yeah, my name is Kathleen Black. I run Kathleen Black Coaching and Consulting, original company name. But we're based out of just east of Toronto, but our clientele is all throughout Canada into US. We have clients in Chicago, clients in Manhattan. So we've been growing into the US. And our niche is team development, all aspects of team coaching, training, building a team, either from a top producer all the way up to, mega team, or mega teams come to us to say, hey, how can we create residual income? How can we sell our business? How can we retire and, still be semi-involved in the business? So we do everything in between. So it's a big bandwidth, so to speak. But that's our specialty, everything real estate team.
Very, very cool. And that's kind of that's the world that I really enjoy running in. We run the team building podcast with Jeff Cohn that some of our viewers might be familiar with. I actually just recorded an episode for that podcast with Kyle Whissel, who's the #1 agent and broker here in San Diego. So to keep an eye out for that episode, we'll be bringing Kathleen on to that show as well, because there's a ton of stuff that we can go into with her on the team. We're going to talk about just the team trend and lead generation and kind of bring it to where it affects and can apply to anyone. So if you're a new agent, or if you're an agent looking to kind of reset your real estate business, you'll get a ton of value out of this episode. But especially if you've kind of gotten yourself a little bit established in the business and you're looking for that next step of what that might be and kind of how to get there, we'll talk about that and just how the whole mega team trend affects all of us in real estate and where that might be going. So we've got a lot of cool stuff to get into. But before we do that, I wanted to bring up a quick question here that we can riff on, and I'll share our perspectives on it. And then Greg, if Gene is able to hop on and share a tech tip, that'd be great. If not, we'll bring him in next week. But
no, I believe he is. He should be coming in here any moment.
Okay, but let's start off with this. So Aaron posted this in the Lead Gen Scripts group this morning. He said, if money was not an issue and you could implement one system in your business today, what would it be? And Kathleen, I want to start with you. You're obviously running essentially what is a coaching consulting agency, right? So you're running it's a little bit different business model, but I'm curious kind of what you would do. What system are you looking to install in your business next if money wasn't an issue?
I think it's the same one. If money's an issue or isn't an issue, I think in our business, it's a scalability thing. Like to me, it's the tech side, our database. It's the ability to be able to connect and engage with, 10 people up to millions of people and have it go seamlessly without errors. I think that's I'm a bit OCD in that department. So having that kind of rolled out perfectly would be worth a lot, not just financially, but I think, it's being able to have a consistent brand, consistent message, deliver value in a way that's, in line with like your principles and your quality of work, right? I think that's so vital. If how you're delivering your message out has an error, it looks sloppy, or half the people don't get it, or, it's a big issue in a coaching business for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I believe that. And Greg, you and I are kind of coming from the same thing. I think the next system we would install in our podcasting business is the same, whether money was an issue or not, which is we're working with our producer to start reaching out to realtor associations and help them by providing our content, the cleaned up version of our content, sans Greg cussing, provide our content to more realtor associations so they can get it out to their database and expand our reach. But like Kathleen, you made a great point, which is that you want to expand and like scale up your kind of relationships or your ability to reach and impact more people, but it has to be done in the right way. So it presents the high level of quality so that it's consistent with, the image that you want to put out there into the world. And that's definitely not an easy thing to do. And I know a lot of agents are in the same position. Kathleen, you're probably also talking about the back end in terms of being able to put the content out there and then track who's interacting with it, right? Do like a little bit of the lead scoring and things like that. Do I have that right?
Well, yeah, and have everything in line so that, again, it's scalability, right? I want the same experience for anyone, whether so we know what events they've been to, what training they've been to. We want that just a cohesive database on a much, much higher level. Yeah.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, we're looking at ways that we can start to kind of segment out and find out what people are most interested in. And we've kind of narrowed down like who our audience is and the three elements of people within that audience. So that way we can start to hopefully help people raise their hand and say like, hey, I'm in this group. I'm not in that other group. Like, so we can start to tailor our content. We can tell people at the outset of our shows, like, hey, this guest is really going to speak to you. If you're in this group, you're going to get a ton out of this episode. That way people can start to at least when they listen on the back end, they can go, okay, well, this episode is really going to speak to me. I want to pay attention to this one, let's say more than the other two for the week or whatever the case is. So we want to start kind of moving in that same direction too. And guys, if you're an agent in your business and you're kind of building that database, build for the future in mind and start building in not a bunch of tags, but just having a few, maybe a handful of tags, a way that you can kind of differentiate, okay, where did this person come from? What are they, are they a homeowner or a home, buyer essentially? And there's different ways that you can just very simply like segment people out so that you're able to send different messages to them. So that's definitely the next step for us too. But we've got painful.
Sorry.
Greg, did you do that to him? Did you type his name in that way?
No, I did not. That would be all Gene.
That's all Gene. All right. So Gene is our resident social media and tech expert, and he joins us on Fridays to give us a quick tech tip. So Gene, since we've got you, you're literally in the car, probably outside of a property you're filming and doing some cool stuff. But what have you got for us today?
No, I'm actually not doing any filming. I just came from lunch. It was a liquid lunch. Right? There we go.
At least you're honest.
Doing today, all right? Ladies and lady, how you guys and lady doing?
Doing well, man. I actually lost power all night last night, so I literally thought it was a day before today. I thought it was Saturday. I was lazily laying around my house, making a sandwich, enjoying my life, and all of a sudden I'd go hang out with you guys. Well, and a pretty lady, but you two ugly mugs.
That's a very nice surprise. I'm not going to lie to you. Any day you get surprised with me is a good day. Not going to lie.
All right.
Take this wonderful lady's time. I saw you guys open.
I did not do that to him.
That's all Gene. Yeah.
That's all Gene again.
Yeah. Yeah, he had to jump off. All right. So Kathleen, before we jump into kind of the content and talking about mega teams, and we'll try to get Gene back on to give a quick tech tip. But Kathleen, give us the kind of the place where people can connect with you and learn more about you and what you guys do.
You can connect with us at ittakes.team. Super easy. Ittakes.team, and you're going to connect with our website. You can request a complimentary coaching call. You can request a business assessment. You can actually fill it out right there. We'll give you feedback on areas in your business you might not be leveraging that you could, or that you might not realize are holding you back from becoming a team. You can also get a report, future real estate, but more importantly, you can connect in on some of our events. Like if you sell 100 or more homes as a team or as an individual agent, we have a mastermind in June, and we run Ultimate Team Summit, which is a huge event exclusively for real estate teams or people want to become teams. And last year, over half of the people attending represented teams that sell 100 or more homes per year, up to 1,000 or more homes per year. So it was a really well-attended event, and check that out. See if you can come and join us. Both of those events are in the Niagara region in Canada this year.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that is a beautiful region. If you're not going there in the dead of winter, that is an amazingly beautiful part of the country.
Oh, it's gorgeous. Yeah, our 100 plus is at wineries. We're leaving the hotels, no more conference centers. Like I'm going somewhere fun.
Really?
Straight to the winery. That's well, hey, it's real estate agents, so that's going to be a natural environment for them.
And I have a ticket purchased already. Gee, it just confirmed. I'm going to be buying. Now, that is amazing. No, Kathleen, one of the questions that before Matt starts just barraging you with questions, I'm going to ask you an easy one. You know, what's the biggest problem that you've seen with people trying to start a team?
Oh my gosh, the biggest one. I mean, like there's so many. Well, really, right? Like there are a lot, and people usually come to coaching because they've tried to start a team and they've hit a problem, right? Like 75% of people buy a service or product because they have an issue and they need it solved. Only 25% of my people are like those visionaries. We want to build something amazing and better. So, biggest problem, I think, I'm going to make it super simple. They just have no structure. Like there's no compensation plan, there's no contracts, there's no job description, there's no vision for how will this compensation or job description fit into my business a year from now, 2 years from now, 5 years from now. It's just not cohesive. So I don't know if it's the vision or the structure or both, but I think that's the biggest problem. It causes the most hurdles and the most like redos. Okay, I got to redo that. You know, I got to hire again. I've got a profile. I've got to have like all of that. It just wastes a lot of time.
So they're treating it like a job, not like a company. It's like it's a job, not a career. Is that what I'm hearing?
That when they're trying to build their team.
Yeah, when they try to
they're
build
not
a team.
putting on a business owner. Oh, sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Cut you off.
Yeah, I agree. It's a lot of times, Kathleen, I think it comes down to clarity of thinking. Yeah. And you don't find that a lot, unfortunately. There's a lot of people that intend to start teams and they see the big goals and they want the numbers and stuff like that, but they don't really, like you said, they don't think about it. They don't put on a business owner's hat. And so we get us a lot of scattered thinking. There's a lot of big goals and there's a lot of activity and a lot of movement, but it's they really never concentrate their forces and really go after a couple things at a time. And that we're going to talk about that lead gen in a minute anyway, but I think it applies to everything. There's a lot of movement, you know, like not a lot of progress.
Yeah, well, that's that typical driver, right? Like your top producers are often drivers and they're implementing and they're trying to get things done and they've kind of got their eye on the task, but they're not necessarily looking at like the systems or the metrics or the measurements. I'm not saying everyone, this is obviously generalized, right? Yeah. But your general top producers are used to kind of go, less aim, more fire, right? So yeah.
Yep. Absolutely. And let's talk about kind of how do you limit that? Like, how do you even think about that when you start focusing on, or you want to focus on like one or two things? How do you work with someone that's let's say someone that wants to start a team or someone that has a small team? How do you kind of get them narrowed down and help them make an intelligent decision on what to focus on and how long should they typically focus on that one thing before they move on and kind of build something else?
Well, I'd say like obviously I'm going to speak from my experience, as would anyone else here, but I mean, any of my clients have a plan. Like we have a target, we have a step-by-step. What are we trying to build? What are the quarterly targets? What are the project targets? Like we have goals for overview for their team. So, you know, we keep striving towards a certain target until we've accomplished it. Like, okay, we need to recruit. What's the process to recruitment? Like we need to look at your team model. What are your expenses? What is your marketing? Do you have enough marketing to support a recruit? Will you be giving the recruit business? Do you have, again, a job description? Do you have a contract? Do you even understand the value the team's going to bring so that you can speak to a recruit in a way that they want to join your team, right? There's so many steps on the way before we even look at bringing that person on board. Do you have the systems and the training yourself in your business that can be duplicated, that they can emulate, right? Like what support is there? So depending on the personality of the client, we could go two different ways, right? We could do it as we're going because they're a driver and they want to just implement, get things done. Or some people will put everything in place and be much more cautious. But I think it's having a system. Like the people who have built the quickest teams and the true mega teams, not the groups, right? Not where you have 50 people and they all sell 5 homes a year, they all sell 8 homes a year. I don't really work in those models. But the teams that are actually cohesive, they're leveraging admin, they're leveraging marketing, they're leveraging ISAs. Those people have with us, they're plugging into a system where we have the system up to like, again, 600 homes, 800 homes, 1,000 homes and far beyond. We have that system. So they know that when they're building with us, they're not going to get a cap. They could go further than they thought they wanted to, but they're going in a step-by-step system and approach. I think those people grow much, much quicker, and it's just easier for them. So I can't tell you, like, does every client take 6 months to recruit? No, right? Like some people, it might be a month and a half. I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, you did. There's a lot there to unpack, but it's interesting that you mentioned the word caution, because that is definitely not something that comes naturally to your typical high D driver. It's usually like plow forward, and there's not a lot of caution. And usually caution is, when it is mentioned, it's in a negative light, which is like, hey, let's be cautious. And you end up you're using that as a reference to the people that are kind of halting progress. But Napoleon Hill talked about the role of caution. He talks about it in Outwitting the Devil. And Greg, you and I are going through that book. But it was really interesting. He points out how, like, very successful people, the non-drifters or whatever he calls them, he says they are cautious, and not cautious in a bad way where you don't take action, but cautious in a good way, which is just sitting down and thinking through what you want to do and making the plans to do it, rather than just going headlong into it and taking unnecessary risk. He says some of the most successful people, we think of them from the outside looking in as being, gallivanting, adventurous risk takers. He says some of the best people, and I've heard Tim Ferriss say this too about, mega investors. I think Tony Robbins has talked about this with all of his mega investors. Like, some of the most uber successful people in the world are much more risk averse than we think. They are very, very good at thinking things through in advance before they leap, and they always cap the downside. They want as much upside as possible, and they want to cap that downside as much. And Kathleen, you talked about just the process of thinking through that. That's the equivalent for your agent or your team leader. That's how you cap the downside. All you have to do is just sit down and think about what you want, and think about it from the other person's perspective before you leap into something.
Well, yeah, and I think connecting, like, again, having that unique connection that I'm connected with multiple teams and multiple experiences. So, with that bottom D driver, it's like, hey, I get it. This is working for you. How much is it going to cost you when it doesn't work for, the next 3 people you try to bring on in your team? And what if I told you that 90% of the time it doesn't work, right? Then it's a shift in mindset. Even though they want to kind of drive forward, they're like, yeah, I don't want to risk my bottom line, which is exactly what I'm hearing you're saying. And that's where it comes in to be part of a network with other teams is really important. Like people watching this, right? Who want to connect with other people working team and say, hey, how can I grow but prevent mistakes, which is just as important. Yeah,
that's true. And Greg, I wanted to bring this up to you. So, because you do all these coaching calls and stuff like that for the McDaniel Challenge, and you're effectively talking to a new person every night that is starting or restarting or whatever their real estate business. And correct me if I'm wrong, but this is what I feel like is going on with a lot of agents and anybody that jumps into a business like this where there's a lot of freedom. Is there's already existing models, and there's a few. There's not 1,000 different models of what works to be successful in real estate. There's relatively few models of what works, and it's all proven to work. And real estate's been the same in terms of the commission structure and how to be successful for a long time. But I feel like people want to reinvent the wheel because they feel like they're special and their circumstances are special. And someone coming along and telling them, hey, I work with a lot of people that have experience, and here's what works, and if you just plug into it, it'll work. I think it makes people bow up against that and go, no, because if I can just plug into that and it works, then that means I'm not that special. Greg, does that make any sense to you? Are you following what I'm saying?
No, you're just a bunch of gibberish right now. I'm mouse sleep. But yes, no, it really does make a lot of sense, because a lot of times what people really, really, really want, they want to make a dent in the universe. Yeah. But they don't want to have to follow someone else's footsteps to get there. They want to make their own way through the snow and have other people follow them. When in reality, stop reinventing the damn wheel. If there's a proven method, just follow. This is something I've had to browbeat the Grandmaster over his head over with. Time and time again. That's my dad, by the way, guys. He always wants to reinvent the wheel. It is painful. To the point where I can't have conversations with him because he's just like, well, what if we just tweak it like this? I'm like, God damn it. No, it already works. So Kathleen, to your benefit, you have to come up against people like my father all the time when it comes to people like what if we just kind of throw a dash of sugar and a little bit of pepper and some mayonnaise into it? You're like, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, that doesn't sound good in a cake recipe. That sounds awful.
No, he makes the worst sandwiches on planet Earth, and he actually eats them. It's like mayonnaise and peanut butter, dude.
Your
I'm not
dad
kidding.
literally does want to reinvent the wheel in everything, even down to
And
the food that he makes.
is mayonnaise, peanut butter,
Oh.
pickles, hot sauce, and like turkey and everything else. I'm like, but yeah, but there's that type of person out there that wants to do that,
Yeah,
and those
I
are
feel like real
creative
estate
individuals.
attracts a lot of that. I don't know, Kathleen, if maybe some of those people are weeded out before they get to you, but there's got to be a fair bit of that going on, especially with aspiring team leaders. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
A lot of people that they want the numbers, but they want to find an entirely new way to get there.
Well, sure. I mean, we have some people who say, like, you don't understand, my way's unique and I'm doing this. And, yeah, they come to us and they say, we want to build our business, we want it to be bigger, and we wanted to do more deals and all, we want a bigger team, all that stuff. And then they'll keep going back to, but I do it this way. I'm like, but that's going to cap you where you're at. They want to build a bigger team doing exactly what they're already doing. Sure. That happens. But I always look at it and say, like, the best, like, again, we're in the age of intellectual property. Like, that's where we're at. That doesn't make any sense. Like, there's people who are ready, unless you're at a point where you're, again, selling like 600, 800, 1,000 homes, unless you're there, it does not make any sense whatsoever to recreate the wheel right now, because you don't get to be a visionary until you're on the top of the mountain. So don't try to recreate a car to drive to the top of the mountain. One's already there. Just invest in it, buy it, get there, and then now it's okay. Now I get to be a visionary. Right? Or now I get to realize I was never a visionary because there's nobody above me and I don't know what the heck to do. Like, you get both choices, right? But at least you get the privilege of giving it a try.
So the thing about the true visionaries is the fact that they weren't looking to be a visionary. They were looking to solve a problem in their own lives. And so they put their head down to the grindstone and they just worked. And they just made it happen day in, day out, and they found solutions to their own problems. People that want to aspire to be a visionary, they're looking for the fame, they're looking for the notoriety, they're not looking for the day-to-day work, what's going to make it happen. I think that is probably a big, well, Kathleen, tell me if I'm wrong or not, that could be a distinguisher between a failure or a success, because every great person in today's society, in the past societies, when they went out to do something, they went out to find a problem for themselves, not to be famous. And I think today, everyone wants to be Kim Kardashian with that huge ass, be famous for something, right?
Yeah.
That's like, Matt's just, nose pinch. Yes. 25 minutes deep. But it's totally true, though. Think about it. Kim Kardashian got a huge ass, which is disgusting, but she's famous for it, and she jiggles that thing everywhere. And that's what people want to be famous for, something just that makes them different from the rest of the herd. So, Kathleen, in your experience, how many people that have gone out to start a big team actually went out to do it for themselves, not for the fame?
Okay, so I think we can draw a line in the sand with values with the Kardashians, because I am relating to what you're saying here. I'm with you a little bit here, okay? So yeah, like
tiny bit.
A teeny tiny bit. No, really, because if you're only in it for your ego and you can't check your ego at the door, then yeah, you want that fame, you want that notoriety, right? You can't take criticism, you can't take feedback, you can't be directed. Those are people with huge egos, and they don't want to spend the time and do the work. I'm with you on that. But I mean, if you're looking to contribute and do something purposeful, I think you're right. Those people have a different work ethic, different values. And I don't think it's by coincidence that a lot of the top teams that we're connected with, the number one feedback Ultimate Team Summit was, I can't believe how humble they are. I can't believe how down to earth they are. I can't believe how much they care about their community. Like, we thought they'd be these real, like, egotistical, pushy, like, pompous salespeople, and they weren't. And they really weren't at all. And it was just a beautiful thing to see. So I think it really depends on your intent, right? And that's one of the things. If people work with us, have the intent to build a team that's about more than just money, right? They want their people to have good lives. They want to make a contribution. They want something they're proud of. They actually care about their clientele. I think that's a huge, divide and line in the sand, right?
So let's say someone out there right now is listening to us either live or in the recorded version, and maybe they are Kim Kardashian. They want that big old ego following them everywhere they go. What is something they can nix out of their life right away, right now, today? What is something they can stop doing to get their head put back squarely on their shoulders, so they can lead with the right intent versus the ego intent?
Well, I think that takes that's a great question. It's a really good one.
That's some deep inner work right there.
Well,
This is from non-sleep, man. This is
Go to Tony
non-sleep, Greg.
Robbins. That's my answer to that.
Well, this is like the existentialist in everyone, right? Like, what am I here to do? What's my purpose in life? I think going down to understanding your own values is crucial. Like, I think also a lot of those top people who aren't driven by ego have been hit with it, right? They've tried to build their business on the wrong things, and they've realized, like, this isn't who I am. They've tried to build the business and buy the cars, buy the houses, buy the fancy brands for people that they didn't really even like to impress, and it backfired. And I think that's, experience that allows people to figure out what's important to them. So
Yeah.
I don't know. That's a big question. Like, we have huge, 9-session workshops to help people get in touch with what's important to them, right? It's a lifelong journey, I think.
Yeah, it is. Well,
it
let's
really
go
is.
deeper. There's something you mentioned, like don't build your business on the wrong thing. And I want to go deeper on that a little bit, because that affects just your average agent, anyone trying to build a lifestyle of freedom around their real estate business, but it also definitely affects somebody who's trying to scale up any type of business. Because if you build your business on the wrong thing, and I'm sure, Kathleen, you see this all the time, they built a team around a certain type of lead generation that's very personality driven or flat out like database driven. You can also get into areas where it's very like based on just hardcore prospecting, which is there's what would you say, the market for agents that are willing to come along and join you for that ride are small, right? I mean, that's you gotta do a lot of sifting to find people that are on board with you to prospect 3-4 hours a day. Now, guys like Greg Harrelson have built their entire company culture around that. Like, they have a model, and they only recruit and they bring people in that have that expectation, like, hey, everyone plugs into the same thing. We're gonna prospect from 8 to 11 in the morning, then we do our follow-ups, then we do our appointments. But they've learned the hard way, they can't have an office of 100 people. They have 30. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about building your business on the right thing. So when somebody comes to you and they've got a very personality or database driven lead generation, how do you get them to see that, hey, we gotta shift, and now we have to start experimenting with something that's scalable, because what you've done has gotten you here to this point, but it's not going to get you to the next level.
Yeah, it's a key part of going to recruit. I mean, marketing for a team and marketing for an individual agent is completely different, right? What could keep you very busy and happy, and you could, cherry pick as an individual agent. For a team, the team model we work with as a company, we require abundance. So scalability is that key word, right? If I've got a goal, again, to create a team that can sell 500 homes, 400 homes, whatever it is, if I'm going to invest only in, again, cold calling and door knocking, I mean, that's going to be a very difficult business for me to scale up and have recruits and get them up and running really quickly and get them busy really quickly. So I need to look at what can I invest in that I can actually grow, which is, again, I mean, it comes back. Andy might have mentioned Andy Harrington is our director of coaching, and he specializes in inside sales departments. Online leads for us are massive for teams. I mean, they're huge because the scalability is just, it's there. If you have the finances to invest in it, it's just open and available to you. Where most teams fall is they don't have the culture of the training, right? They don't have the support. They don't set those expectation or mindset for people to be able to be strong with those leads. Or they'll bring in an ISA, and let's say, again, your personality comes into it. If the recruit or the team member, maybe they've been there 3 years, is very relationship based, they could have a really hard time building the relationships they want with the appointments that come from an ISA. Just that one little thing can be a huge impact on a team, because often most agents look to create what they like. So they'll meet with, more dominant clients, for example, and they keep trying to get that warm, fuzzy feeling. And the dominant client's just like, I talked to somebody, I put something in online, I don't care about being your friend. And the agent just keeps trying to warm up and loses the whole conversion. So I think it's creating an understanding of where does our marketing come from? What's the psychology of it? What does the system give us in advantages? And learning to adapt, right? Like, it doesn't matter how DC I can be in personality. When I'm selling, if somebody is more need to be more personable, I'm mirroring them. It's nothing to do with what I want, right? I need to be able to adapt in a team environment. Yeah, I think it's crucial.
Yeah, and if you build your entire culture around something, and you mentioned like the relationship-based approach, yeah, it's going to be very difficult to scale that up. Now, you can scale to a point, but at that point, you have to decide, Like, am I happy with where things are at? And do I just want to bring on more agents that are relationship based and teach them how to build a lifestyle business? And then I'll, like you said, you end up with that business where you have a bunch of agents and they all sell 5 to 10 homes a year. That's what I would consider the broker model. That's what's worked for a long time. Then you have the team model, which is you have to bring a smaller number of people and you have to make them more productive. So the question is, what do you have them do that's going to be more productive than just working their sphere? And that's where that kind of scalable lead generation comes in at.
Yes, absolutely. It's a necessity. Yeah.
And Andy mentioned something really interesting. So guys, on the team building podcast, Andy Harrington's episode will be coming out in a couple of weeks. So check that out. But he mentioned something really interesting, which is the teams that sell the most don't have any more lead generation pillars than anybody else does. In fact, they usually have a lot fewer. So he said something to the effect of, like, the teams that sell 800 or 1,000 or 1,200 homes a year, they only have 3 or 4 ways that they generate leads. So how does that work, and how are you seeing that contrasted with the people that come to you and they're scattered and they've got a million different ways to generate leads? Like, why doesn't that work as you try to scale up?
Well, I think it doesn't work because it's as soon as you ask that same question that I asked here with our coaching business, right? When I said about the database, and I said to them, the reason I do that, to me, anything we do, the question is, okay, is this a little problem? If we had double, triple, quadruple the clients, how big of a client would this, or a problem would this be? It's like, we can't afford to have that. So I think that's why it's more simplistic, because when you take something and again, you double it, triple, quadruple it, all of a sudden you only have so much, power. Like, you only have so much support within the team, marketing support. And if you're running multiple different systems, you still need to get them set up. You need to monitor them. You need to know your baselines. It's so much easier to have certain strong pillars and then track, and you can see if anything's off very quickly versus having 10 things. Now I'm trying to train 10 different systems. I'm trying to have specialists in 10 different areas. That's going to really dilute our effectiveness. That's not our laser focus. And the top teams doing massive production, they have laser focus in all areas, or as close as they can get. Everyone falls off, right? Like, that's training. No one's perfect. Like, I think there's this myth that, teams selling, again, 500, 600, 800 homes have, everything's running tick, tick, tick. Compared to an individual or a small team, it is. But they have their own hurdles and their own things that they're working on. So I think it's really critical that you have less to work on as a top team, but you're doing it as a mastery level. I think it's really important.
Yeah, and I think that's something that we can all. I mean, Greg, you and I can work on that, being more focused. I think that's been part of the process of us kind of figuring out who our audience is, getting more clear and specific about appealing to them, and not trying to attract everyone, and being okay with that. And that's a hard thing. Well, yes, that's because but you are that guy. You want to do. Your answer is, let's do it all. Let's do everything. Everything, all the time.
Richard Branson is one of the richest men in the entire world, and his motto is, "Screw it, let's do it." So yeah, I am absolutely. That is my motto.
I would push back on that.
Strategy behind that.
Yes.
Sure.
No, not just silly talk.
How in the world do you manage 8 or 10 different companies? You have to manage one key person in each of those companies, and they have to be reporting on probably 3 to 5 metrics.
Yes. I joke all the time about this, but yes, I mean, Richard does do that. I mean, there are multiple stories about the fact that, like, yes, he has hundreds of companies that he owns and runs, right? But his staff keep his core crew locked in on only very specific things that they're working on. No matter how big the dollar is that's coming at him or his team or his companies to go do something else that would divert him away from his core values, they will not let it happen. And I've read and listened and watched a lot of these different stories being told, and I've always been dumbfounded to the fact that, like, even when Darren Hardy would call him up and be like, "Hey, Richard, you've given us hundreds of thousands of subscribers. You do this one thing for me, and this guy will pay you $1 million for 30 minutes." And the guy's like, "No, absolutely not. I cannot deviate." So you're right, Kathleen, Matt. Yes, you guys are both right. And yes, Matt, I am saying that you are right for once. I mean,
we're just going to stop the show right there.
Yeah, and done. And cut. Cue. All right, lunch.
That's right.
No, but it is true, though. You have to be so laser focused on what you want to do, what you want to achieve, and you have to have a definite of purpose. Like Matt in the Napoleon Hill's book, you have to be definite on what you're going for. It can't be wishy-washy. You have to know what you're going for. Put the right people in the right seats on the bus and move forward, and kick the people off the damn bus if they're not the right people immediately. I have a few people to get on the bus.
It's not a question of what do I need to do. It's what will it take, right? That level of commitment. Yeah.
Yeah, agreed. So Kathleen,
I was just going to say, before you move on with the marketing thing, I think there's two other points that are really important that are advantages with the top teams when it comes to how do they have such simplistic marketing streams, right? Like pillars. Let's say they have three. There's two other major advantages. And I think for people listening going, okay, this is all great, but how do I get there? Two advantages that they've invested in are going to help them massively. Number one, it's compensation structures. It's one of the biggest mistakes most people make when they're building their team. They build compensation structures with an idea just to retain top talent, but they don't build it in a way that's going to allow them to build their business. And that's a massive mistake. If you're thinking with the end in mind, what are you looking to leverage along the way that you're going to pay other people for that will allow you to move forward quicker? This is so vital. Those top teams have those three pillars because they have the money to invest in those lead sources, and they know they need the money to invest to be able to retain their team members, allow them to grow, allow them to have that security, opportunity, and fair payment, right? This is vital. So compensation is one. The other is they have the right management, support, director operations, whatever it is. And usually those people have very different talents from the team leader. And this is right into what Greg was saying. You need people to protect you from yourself. We all have very different personalities. I've seen team models where the team leader is such a driver. They have people around them saying systematically what you want to do doesn't work. Like it's going to cap. This is going to be a mess in 2 years. And they'll just say, no, too bad. I want to do it. That's it. And sure enough, it's a mess. And those people are picking up the pieces. Seriously, it's a mess. So the best top teams, they understand you have different strengths than me, and they balance each other out. They can afford to have those people who have their back, who are more analytical, or more systems, who are more metric based. That's an amazing combination for most team leaders that help them excel, right?
It really is. I mean, on my team, both with Matt and I's partnership here and on my real estate team, you know, my team manager, Eileen, she'll never listen to this, so I can say this. Is the fact like she's always like thinks we're spending too high. I think we're spending too low, and we're talking about a gap. She thinks $10 is too much. I think $100 is too little. I'm like, wait a minute. So what the fuck can I get for 1,000? I mean, if I can get this for 100, and she's like, well, Greg, let's test $10. I'm like, hell no, that's bullshit. And Matt does this to me all the time as well. I'm like, Matt, we can go for all of that, and he's like, let's go for this first. I'm like, God damn it. No, Jonathan, no. We have got to go bigger. And he's like, no. But I mean, it really, that positive and negative balance really is powerful. It is the only way you can move forward in business. You can't have a tyrannical dictator pulling you through the mud because everyone else behind him is going to drown.
And talk about recruitment problems. Yeah, no kidding.
Oh, God.
Oh, yeah.
There's a couple of team leaders in my company. I'm not going to say names, although I really want to, that are absolute fucking assholes. And you know what? They see people fall off. People with leprosy just losing arms and fingers and toes and legs right and left and upside down and backwards because they're pulling so strong that the other people can't hold on. And then like true power needs truth spoken to it, right? That's why the president and everyone else has someone that, or multiple people, hopefully, knock on wood, that all true leadership will have someone that can speak truth to them.
Absolutely.
And tell them, hey, you really need to back down for a minute. The team is feeling blank or blah or whatever. And when that person in power hears that and absolutely absorbs that, like you're talking about, Kathleen, then true power is going to be found by that person, because now they know the balance in life, not just their own will. And I wish more people would listen to what you have to say, because better teams, bigger teams, happier lives, happier spouses would be found in this industry, in multiple different industries, by just understanding that small concept, which is so big, but so small. It's getting over your damn ego, Johnson.
Kathleen, a lot of it does come down to that. And that's, you mentioned earlier, just how humble the people that come out to your mastermind and your team building event are. And that was one of the things that surprised me about musicians too. And it actually surprised my parents, because for a long time I wasn't allowed to like dive into that world and really I wasn't allowed to buy like instructional materials or take lessons or anything like that. Like I was entirely self-taught. But then we started like going to clinics where they would bring in some of the top musicians, and you read about them, like what their personal experiences were like and interactions with fans and stuff. And you realize that the guys that are the best in the world, at whatever it is, but musicians are a great example. The guys that are the best are usually the most humble. Mm-hmm. Because they don't think that they're too good. So they just keep pushing and they keep pushing and they keep mastering. And they have this sense that, yes, they can look back and they can appreciate where they've come from. But the further you get up the mountain, the taller you realize the mountain is. And you kind of have this sense of your own insignificance, like it was just how far you could still go. And the more that you master that, the better you get in business. You should have a sense of humility, which is what enables you to keep going.
Yeah. I think it's Will Durant, the quote. It's something like this. So it's basically, the more I learn, the more I discover my own ignorance, right? Which is what I'm doing.
That is a great quote.
I can't believe I didn't know all of this.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, it's very true. You have to always be consistently curious.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
In all things of life. I mean, once you stop being curious, there's something wrong. There's a disconnect. You need to reevaluate what your values are in life, who the people are speaking to you are. And then if only yes men around you or yes women around you, you need to fire them immediately and get people who challenge you, because that's where you grow. And that's why I keep Matt around.
No, thanks. All right. So Kathleen, selfish question for you. So I'm curious, as we record this, we are in 2017. It's April.
Yes.
At least in the States, I'm hearing from, clients and just people and stuff like that, we have already hit a peak, we're getting near a peak, whatever. But, there's whispers that there's going to be a major correction. I wholeheartedly agree. I don't know, it's not a political thing. It's more of an economic, philosophical outlook on things. I mean, we've seen home prices pretty well recover since 2007. We know we're headed towards something. So that being said, and I think probably most of the team leaders and owners that you work with would probably agree to that we're heading towards something. We don't know exactly what it is, but some sort of market correction. How do you think that shakes out? Do teams win? Do they come out better? Are they better equipped, better prepared going into a market correction than the average agent? Or when the market corrects, does it expose all these teams that were built on a shaky foundation in the first place, and then the whole team thing gets swept away? What's your perspective on that?
First of all, I think, not all teams are created equal. So if you don't have a strong foundation and you don't have strong systems and you're not preparing in your off season, so to speak, like if you're only preparing systems and tools for a really high market and you're not prepared for any market, that's going to be a pretty steep correction for you. But I think, we have a huge client pool, obviously, in Canada as well. And we've had unprecedented strong markets in Toronto and in Vancouver, to the fact where in Vancouver, they actually stepped in and tried to reduce foreign investment because the markets were just so high. And in Toronto, they're rumoring it, but we haven't had anything confirmed as of yet. I think we're between 27 and 32% increase in sale price in Toronto since last year. Like we're massive increases. It's huge. So again, we have 46,000 agents on the Toronto Real Estate Board. It's the biggest in North America. Extremely competitive. Like we're going up against, buyers, they're taking out for 10 different offer presentations, maybe 15 before they even get a chance of getting the house. We have people wanting detached houses, have we go into condos. Like it's a very extreme market. Even in our smaller towns, I felt the effect. So I've got people in like Windsor, which is across from Detroit, and people in really small towns, and they have massive bidding wars and no one's ever dealt with it. So I love your question, because whether the market's going up or the market's going down, it shakes things up, and the same thing's occurring. Those agents who aren't used to this climate and aren't trained for it they're very stressed. They're having a mess. They're having complaints all over the place to their governing bodies, and it's an issue. So do I think teams, when I first came into the real estate business, we had it down for about 12 months. And I did phenomenal. My business was extremely healthy. And I think this past year, in the last 2 years, what I noticed, and actually I think Greg alluded to this the last podcast, I don't think you realized it, but he kind of said, the things you're talking about with consultants approach maybe 500 years from now. And I was like, but this is already my reality. I don't think I realize how much of a bubble I live in working with teams all the time. Because we have all of our teams, pressing in at the end of the year for their numbers. First quarter just ended, and we're just killing it. Like our clients are ahead of their goals; they're doing extremely well. But what I didn't, and I'm not just plugging what I do, I'm being legitimate, but what I didn't see happening was they went to the same awards and they came back because they were kind of down. I was like, what's going on? They're like, I feel really bad because some of my colleagues that I've worked with for years and years and years, they've all been top agents. They're having a horrible year. Like, they're really worried. They're suffering. Like, what's going on? The competition is so fierce that these agents who have relied on repeat referral systems didn't have the ability to compete with teams who have systems, who have higher amounts of value, who leverage marketing, leverage support. And they were relying on those repeat referral spin-off business, and it just didn't come to them. So I think it's like anything else. I have more and more consults now from agents saying to me, I realize I cannot continue to operate my business this way because I just can't compete with the people who are leveraging and setting up their businesses systematically. How long does it take a team to adapt to a changing market? Like, think about it. I'm an individual agent. I might sell whatever. Like, let's say I'm having a great year. I'm selling 8 to 12 homes for the average agent is pretty decent. That's a huge amount of time before I feel the ripple of changes in the market. Teams can adjust. They can see the ripple in their numbers very quickly and go into training and adapt to other market. Like, our teams are trained for the sellers markets, buyers markets, in between markets. We already have all those systems and tools. We're ready, and we're constantly ahead of that. So I think people who aren't strategic and systematic are going to have a really hard time because teams will take more market share. People keep saying if there's not enough buyer leads, people leave the team. Well, no, they adapt, they adjust, they have synergy. It's easier for them. I'm biased, but that's my opinion. You asked it.
I did, and I expect the unvarnished opinion. I like it. No, that's a really interesting perspective, because here's what I've heard from some of the other guys that are in this world, which is if the team isn't built on a foundation of people who know how to prospect themselves, and not starting with their database, but also going out and cold prospecting. And I think they do have a point, because the online lead generation as it's currently being played, in order to play it at a high level, you have to do, Kathleen, what you teach, which is you have to have ISAs, there has to be scrubbing, there has to be less than 5-minute response time. There's a sequence of things that you have to put in place in order to make that successful. But then on the back end of that, you have to have a culture of people that actually will just pick up the phone and call and have intelligent conversations with people about real estate. And the teams that are built on purely the online lead generation, the buyer lead stuff that's come out since the last crash, I think are probably in the most danger, because their agents, Greg, are not.
Whoa, why are you calling me out?
Not you, not about you. I'm just saying you're about to get your perspective on it. You've been through the crash. You learned the fundamentals of the business from your dad, and you know how to have conversations with any type of lead, and you know how to go out and you know how to do the fundamentals, the door knocking, the cold calls, just to reach out beyond the people that you already know, and to not have to rely on an online system that you're paying to generate leads coming into you. And it's always good, I think, to have that foundation to where you can always come back to that.
No, 100%. I mean, no matter what, at the end of the day, it's a belly-to-belly, face-to-face, eye-to-eye, business. And no, you can take every shiny object, iPhones, smartphones, Zello, Trulia, whatever else. Yeah, those are really good tools, but that's not the ultimate core of the business. It's running it like a business, and it's just getting to know people and hang out with them and be around them. That will take you through the downturn, because even if someone's having a bad day, they can still turn to you and say, hey, look, my sister needs help. My brother needs help. My neighbor needs help. And a lot of people don't think about it that way. They still think, well, I still want it to be a microwave type of business. Just bing, done. Here's a client. That's not the way it's done. Matt, you and I have laughed for over a year at this one post in the LGSO group. And you know what I'm going to say. When the lady said, I'm too busy to nurture leads. I just want them to be served up to me, ready to go, hot and ready, hot and heavy. And a lot of the comments were, well, I see your future with an apron. Go be a steward, waitress somewhere, because those people, when they walk in, they have a want, need, or desire to be served right then. They're not going to be hungry in a week or a month or whatever else. They need something now. And in this business, you've got to be able to play the short game and the long game, just like golf. Got to pull out the different clubs for the different parts of the year, the different parts of the season that you're in, and play efficiently.
Man, I do believe Greg made a cogent and intelligent sports analogy. We might have to end the show on that note. Kathleen, so remind everybody how they can connect with you and get more information. And is there anything specific that you want people to check out on the site?
Again, it takes a team. It takes a dot team. I always forget the dot. It takes a team or real estate team .coach. Either of those, you can connect with us. And just, I would recommend if you're looking to grow a team and you're serious about it and you want a proven protocol result, then you can request a complimentary coaching call. We connect with them, myself or director of coaching personally. We take them very seriously. So we take time to give you value. You can do, again, a business assessment. You can get a free report about the future of real estate, which is all about teams and leverage. But most importantly, if you have a team or you're looking to become more efficient, you want to have residual income, you want to know how you can sell your business, come out to Ultimate Team Summit. Or if you qualify and you sell 100 deals or more, check out our 100 plus deals mastermind, which is going to happen in June. And come in and connect with a lot of really top producing team leaders and get some results. Because just one solution when you're playing at that level of the game, when you're doing that much business, is, the bottom line, what it's worth to you, you guys can calculate for yourself, but it's pretty massive. So if you're 100 plus, I'd highly recommend coming out and connecting and see what areas of your business you can plug in from others there, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, when you're at that level, one tweak, one idea can change your whole business and double and triple it. It's amazing. That's why I like operating in this world, because it's it's the leverage is so incredible and the rewards are so big that just one good idea, one concept, one distinction, like Tony Robbins says, can change your life and change your business and like all of a sudden make you multiple six figures. So, All right, Greg. So people should definitely follow us. Obviously, I am easier to find on Facebook because I am just simply at Pursuing Results. Greg, how do they find you on Facebook?
Creativity. Time on their hands. I don't know. So
creativity. Thought you were about to make up your own word there.
No. So guys, just go find me, Greg McDaniel. Got a red shirt, black hat. I'm pointing my hat like this, kind of like an idiot. But you know what? I love the photo, so just go like it anyways. Keep your personal opinions to yourself. And Matt, that goes for you. But you guys follow me there. Go to Instagram, McDanielCallahan.realestate. You can find me there, and then on Snapchat, which I am honestly starting to try to use. It's REU444. You guys find me there. But then just follow me on Facebook, guys. I do live prospecting every day, Monday through Thursday, and so you guys can see what I'm doing, tonality and scripts. And then follow me on other platforms. Matt, what do we have coming up in regards to our new program?
Well, right now we've got guys, go to rockstarprospecting.com. That launches. That's the final edition of that class, and that launches on Monday. And so you essentially got a couple more days to sign up. But the next class that we're working on right now, that Greg and I are finalizing the content on over the next couple of days, is called Get Now Business. So talk about playing the short game. Rockstar Prospecting was about, basically playing the medium and long-term game of getting out there, talking to people in the target neighborhoods where you want to work, collecting email addresses, building your database, and then picking up those deals that they're kind of the low-hanging fruit in that neighborhood. That is the course that we are offering for the final time starting next week, guys. So go rockstarprospecting.com to check that out. Get Now Business is more of the short game. So if you are a new agent, or if you're restarting, if you're parachuting into a new area and you need to get things up and running, and you need ways that will bring in that low-hanging fruit as quickly as possible, that's the course that we're putting together that we'll start offering, that'll start in May. So we'll have more details on that to come.
And then most importantly, Matt, gosh dang it, Kathleen, you've been awesome. They need to know one more time where to find you, because you need to be found more often so that more people can grow effective and efficient teams. So one more time, just for these folks who are just tuning in late, as they always do.
I'm going to put the best link in here. So you'd rather them go to the It Takes .team?
Team, yes.
Okay.
Or Facebook is easy.
Team.
It Takes .team, or Kathleen Black Coaching and Consulting's on Facebook, or I'm on Facebook too, Kathleen Black with a K. Pretty easy. Yeah, connect. Absolutely. Thank you.
Cool.
Awesome.
All right, guys. Well, that's going to do it. We've got an insane week next week. So here's just a little preview. We've got Jeff Cohn on Friday. We've got John Galtieri on Monday. But on Wednesday, seriously, guys, tune in. We've got Chris Voss, former FBI hostage negotiator, international hostage negotiator. He's talking about negotiation techniques with us. That's going to be a killer episode. He's pumped. Mm-hmm. We're pumped to have him. So it's going to be a killer episode. That's on Wednesday. We got a full week next week. We've got guests all next week, guys. So join us then. Until then, everybody have a great weekend. Thanks so much for watching. Make sure to subscribe and share the show and do your thing. We love you guys. Appreciate it.
All right, guys, we love you. And as always, peace out, ninjas. We gone.